Welcome, everybody, to another edition of The King and Pocket Aces, brought to you by RotoBaller.com. I'm one of your hosts, Pocket Aces Anthony Aniano, and joining me, as he always does each and every week, the king of fantasy sports, Mr. Scott Engel. Scott, busy week, FSGA week in the past is now behind us. Scott Fishbowl going on. Fantasy football season is officially here. It's a great time for you and I and all our viewers. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm here ready to celebrate. I got my lighted Seahawks hat. Uh, you know, so, I'm in the practice bubble, as you can see. So I'm ready to go. We had the FSGA Central Division Draft where you and I shared a team. It's boring to hear people talk about their own teams, but that's not what we're going to do. We're not going to talk at you. We're going to tell you why we drafted who we did, in certain leagues.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
you can learn from it.
Absolutely. And guys, don't forget, head to RotoBaller.com. Check out everything there. Main page, premium package, expert chats, you name it. RotoBaller.com has it for you. DFS, season-long formats, whatever sport, football, baseball, basketball, MMA, esports, NASCAR, PGA, sports betting. All right, promo code KING or ACES saves you some money on those premium packages, whether you're finishing up your baseball season or getting ready and gearing up for your fantasy football season. And Scott said it, right? So it's funny, Scott, and I texted this to you the other day. In all my years of fantasy football, I have never co-run a team. And Wednesday night, you and I drafted in the FSGA Central Division. We ended up drafting together. Having never done it before, I didn't know what it would be like, but I guess you and I, knowing each other so well and knowing each other so long and similar styles, draft went as smooth could be. And I feel good about our draft. Just to recap, everybody, this was a 14-team PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receivers, kicker, defense, tight end, flex. So pretty standard, just 14-team league. Scott and I had the 4th overall pick. McCaffrey went 1, Dalvin Cook 3. Jonathan Taylor surprised us a little bit at 3. We thought it would be Alvin Kamara. We debated for a quick second or two, but we stuck with who we wanted at 4, and that was Derrick Henry. And I think we both walked away thrilled because I think that's who we both had our eyes on with that first-round pick.
Yeah, and, about sharing with teams, sometimes you can do it with other people, sometimes you can't. I've known people that have had 3 people, one run a team where one guy cuts the check, the other 2 have input, things like that. Over the years, it hasn't always worked. I got to be honest. I prefer to run it myself because there's been times, I have a league here in New York City that's pretty expensive to get in, and I was sharing a team with 2 other guys 3 years in a row, and for the first 2 years we got into big disagreements with the other guy, and then the 3rd year my other owner was like publicly shaming me when we got off to a bad start. So I'm very careful about who I share with, and it was very easy with you. We didn't have too much push and pull, and when we did, you said, okay, you do this, okay, you do that. It doesn't always work. You can't just throw yourself into co-owning a team with somebody, co-managing a team with somebody. You got to make sure the chemistry's there. Over the years, I've had very big disagreements with people that I like and people that I love. Like, look, we just can't share a team together. But for you and me, it worked. We're both on Derrick Henry. I don't care that he catches touchdown passes. I'm not worried about him wearing down until I believe when I see it. Led the NFL in yards and rushing touchdowns the last 2 years.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And it's funny. So Josh Hayes and I looked at this team on SiriusXM the other day, and one of the things we said was, Scott and I have the same mindset. We both do is if there's a player you want, forget about ADP. Okay. You've done your research. I've done my research. And if there's a player you want, you go get your player, even if maybe it's early in the draft. And, our first 3 picks, Derrick Henry, Michael Thomas, there was really no debating that. We every round, we kind of flirted with a tight end here and there, but we stuck to what we thought was best for this team, not being a tight end premium. Running back 2 in the 3rd round, J.K. Dobbins. That was smooth. Then we got to the 4th round, and you pushed hard. You had done your work. You were all in on Michael Carter the rookie for the Jets. I didn't buy it. I thought we could have gotten him a little bit later on. You liked him, and I trusted you with this. Because, again, what did I just say? You got your guy. You want your guy. You go get him before somebody else does. So I knew that's how you thought, so I trusted it. We went with it. We wanted Chase Edmonds in the next round. He didn't last to us. But for all our listeners, Michael Carter in the 4th round, some people are going to think that's too early, too soon. Tevin Coleman's there. Ty Johnson's there. Explain to the listeners your thought process between Michael Carter round 4 and what do you expect for him?
Well, if you look at the draft board, and we'll be able to provide that as well for you in the article version of this show. And I'll be writing an article on RotoBaller.com. 14-team league, and running backs were starting to drop off. And he was like one of the final in the tier where I said, we need a third running back. He's one with upside. I don't see him as a feature back, but I see him as very efficient. He's going to catch a lot of passes out of the backfield and can make a big play anytime he touches the ball. To get him as our third running back, I felt like there was a drop off after that. You have tiers in your mind, or you have tiers on a cheat sheet, and you say, okay, this position is thinning out. This is where we have to go. And running back was starting to thin out by a certain point in the 4th round.
Now, in rounds 5 and 6, we went back-to-back wide receivers. And you gave me round 5. We had a list of wide receivers.
Yeah, it was a give and take.
Right. You said, all right, here's our list. Who do you want? And it came down to Odell Beckham. And I think you agreed the upside there was too good to pass up in round 5. And then what some people thought would have been a surprise, but you and I agreed. And I want you to break this player down a little bit. Round 6, Michael Pittman, Indianapolis Colts. You threw him out there. You put him in the queue. And I immediately jumped right on board with you there. I love Pittman as well this year. What are expectations? Is he Carson Wentz's number 1 over T.Y. Hilton this year in Indianapolis?
I think so. I think T.Y. Hilton's best years are behind him. Michael Pittman, they didn't put anybody else in his way. Receivers make a big jump in the second year. We saw in the wild card game last year a very pretty catch and run. Michael Pittman ranked 3rd in the NFL in yards after the catch per reception among wide receivers last year. He's a big target who can high point the ball, but he can also make things happen after the catch. I think, he can become sort of an Alshon Jeffrey type, but, hopefully stay healthier and have a little more speed after the catch. Trying to make that former Eagle comparison, but, pretty much stands on his own as a big target with good yardage after the catch abilities. And it's interesting with Beckham and Pittman, I got them as my 3rd and 4th wide receivers in the Scott Fishbowl draft in the KISS division as well. So I'm investing in these guys. Sometimes when you play with multiple teams, if you're an NFFC or FFPC player, you're high stakes, you're doing hundreds of drafts, you want to diversify. But if you play in, sometimes a lot of our readers, listeners, and viewers just play in 1 or 2 leagues, go after your guy. If you play in 10, 12 leagues like me, I'm just go after my guy. Once you expand above 20 teams, now you start diversifying. It might be, okay, in this draft, I take Pittman. In that draft, I take Devonta Smith, see what happens, because it becomes like a DFS sort of approach if you play in that many leagues. But, we wanted to go for some upside too and differentiators, because you have to take a high stakes approach because this is an industry league. And, we want to have the bragging rights of winning this.
Yeah, absolutely. Round 7, we see a little run on quarterbacks. We missed Justin Herbert by 1 pick, but we don't panic because we said Herbert, Matthew Stafford, whoever's there, we take. That was our guy, Stafford. And then we break down at the tight end position. And then this is where I think we got a steal as our tight end 1. When you consider the round that we got Robert Tonyan in round 9. Now, granted, we want to see Aaron Rodgers quarterback in the Packers. We got him in round 9. And another player you really loved at the tight end position, Adam Troutman of the Saints, we got him in round 11. In your opinion, is there a chance as this season goes on, Troutman becomes our tight end 1 over Tonyan?
There is. And real quick about Stafford and when Herbert was taking, I have never been sniped on a pick in 25 years of fantasy football. Why? Because I always realize that the guy I want the most could go before my pick. And I always have 3 to 6 guys that are queued up. So I
Yep.
say, okay, Herbert's gone. I'll take Stafford. There's like a lot of reasons Stafford. I don't sit there and say, oh man, oh, I took my player. I never get sniped. Now with the tight ends, Tunyon scored 11 touchdowns last year. Some people are pointing to touchdown regression, but when Aaron Rodgers decides that he trusts a player in a big spot, he's going to keep going to him. And that's what I'm banking on with him for us. With Troutman, Sean Payton, even going back to the days when he was an assistant coach, has always made the tight end a big part of his passing game. Jared Cook caught 16 touchdowns in the last 2 years. Now, Adam Troutman talking to the media, he spent a lot of time last year just sitting and learning from Jared Cook and Josh Hill. And now the Saints and Sean Payton have a lot of confidence in him to the point where they cut Cook and Hill, and he is the clear #1 tight end target on that team. When Sean Payton sends 2 guys packing and clears a path for somebody to be a tight end, that tells you a lot about what this guy's potential is. And tight ends are always big in the Saints passing game. No matter who plays quarterback, they're not going to be so terrible that they're not going to find him, even though Breeze is not going to be there anymore. One of the beat writers for The Athletic actually said that Troutman could make a big Jimmy Graham-like leap in year 2.
That's going to be fantastic. If that is how that ends up, and we got him in the 11th round, sign me up for that. A couple of other players who I thought we took who were interesting. Somebody maybe not the casual fan is even aware of. In round 12, we took our 5th and final wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I believe a 4th round pick by Detroit this year. And we took him 12th round. We said, why not? It's time to take the flyer. This Detroit Lions wide receiver core is kind of barren. And Amon-Ra St. Brown has a chance to emerge. And we grabbed him in round 12. And guys, this is where you roll the dice. Round 12, if it doesn't work, he's waiver wire. You make a move. You find somebody else. But if you hit, and you're getting him in the 12th round. Scott, your take on St. Brown?
They're going to play him in the slot. And when you have receivers like Terrell Williams and Rashad Perriman, there's not a lot of quality competition for targets. This is a rookie that can step in right away for Jared Goff, who likes to throw to the slot. So why not take a chance with him in the 12th round and see what happens? That's where guys in a deeper league, 14 teams like this, also had Amari Rodgers of Green Bay queued up because they still don't have a true #2 wide receiver in Green Bay, and he's already been getting talked up in the preseason. So when you get super deep like that, rookies can certainly make an impact. Opportunity doesn't always lead to production, but if it does, I think we grabbed ourselves a good late target.
Scott, when I looked back on the draft after we finished up the next day, I'm going to reveal a truth here. I have one regret from that draft.
What?
One regret. And it's our second. The fact that we drafted a second quarterback. I think we kind of fell in love with the name of Trevor Lawrence there in round 13. But the truth of the matter is, unless Trevor Lawrence is so explosive, Matthew Stafford will be our quarterback. And Trevor Lawrence is going to be sitting on our bench most weeks, not helping us in a 1 QB league. We took Darrington Evans in the next round as a protection against Derrick Henry. God forbid Derrick Henry gets hurt. But nonetheless, we have 5 running backs and 5 wide receivers. When I look at how the draft shook out and players like Christian Kirk or Nelson or Jacoby Myers or Rashad Perriman and other wide receivers who were floating around out there, I just wonder, did we make a mistake taking the second QB? Should we have added one more depth piece at wide receiver or running back?
I'm not going to second guess us in retrospect. Lawrence, we had a beat reporter from Jacksonville on Sirius XM, and they said that some people consider him maybe a top 6 quarterback in the NFL right now. So who knows? When you're that late and there's that much upside, and he's mobile too. Could we end up in a situation where we're having to decide between Stafford and Lawrence every week? When we were that late, I thought about that and said, we can't assume right now he's going to be on a bench every week. I love Stafford, but what if this guy plays just as good as Stafford?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe one of our quarterbacks suffers an injury. Hopefully not. We don't have to go to the waiver wire and really seek anybody else out. I understand where you're coming from, but I felt there was a lot of upside at that point, and we don't know what Lawrence's floor and his ceiling is going to be. Supposedly this is a generational quarterback here, and it's going to be very, very interesting. If he actually breaks out, I'll be glad we didn't leave him in the draft.
Fair enough. Yep. Scott, I want to shift gears now to our best ball rankings. Last time we talked, we broke down some running backs and some quarterbacks and got your take on those positions in a best ball format. So with a little time left before people start drafting their standard 12-team leagues, I wanted to take a few minutes today and look at some more best ball rankings and start with you today at the wide receiver position. And looking at the RotoBaller rankings, and this might be nitpicking, but I feel the need to point it out to you. DeAndre Hopkins, it's Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, D-Hop at 3, ahead of Davante Adams. Is that still is Aaron Rodgers playing or not effect that Davante Adams and all the success he had last year is now 4th on the RotoBaller best ball ranking?
It's totally the Davante Adams effect. And I love Stephon Diggs at number 2, led the NFL in receiving yards last year, and I don't see much of a drop-off. DeAndre Hopkins, even with other talents around him, is still going to get a heck of a lot of catches. You want a gun for upside when you're playing best ball. That's what you want to do. It's about having the focus on the total points rather than the week to week. You don't have to worry that, oh, my team exploded this week, but the other guy, he scored more than me, exploded too, and I lost. So right now, there isn't the perception of a lot of upside with Davante Adams, with Aaron Rodgers' situation being uncertain. That said, look, you can never know for sure with these things, but if I had to say one way, you put a gun to my head, I say Rodgers plays this year and Adams still puts up really good numbers.
Yep. Now, one of the things we were talking about the other night when we were drafting together, and we kept going back to it, is the depth at the wide receiver position. We kind of kept putting it off because we knew we were still getting a quality wide receiver coming to us in the next round. And you look at these best ball rankings, right? Calvin Ridley sits as the 5th overall wide receiver. Allen Robinson is sitting there at 10. So there is something to say about the fact that we all love Ridley. He's got a great opportunity now in Atlanta with Julio Jones out of town. But if I don't get him, and this goes back to your point too before about not getting sniped, okay, I didn't get Calvin Ridley. I got Allen Robinson, 150 targets a year. It didn't matter if it was Trubisky or whoever else at quarterback. So wide receiver is such a deep position, at least top 20 heavy, that in a best ball ranking, I'm not stressing if I don't get my quote unquote my guy, because the amount of guys runs so deep.
Well, if you need a guy to beat a guy, then that could be your guy. So that's the guys we got to talk about. How many times have we said "guy" on this show? It sounds like a baseball.
It's a popular word. It's a popular word,
especially in baseball analysis. Anyway, look at Scott Fishbowl. I actually got Michael Thomas in the 5th round. So
remember, that's a 2 QB league. Everybody out there,
QB league, but still, that shows that you can maybe get him in the 4th or late 3rd in a regular seasonal league. So I doubt he's going to last to the 4th in a lot of seasonal leagues. Remember, Scott Fishbowl's tied in premium too, but still, I was very happy because to me, Allen Robinson and Michael Thomas are a bit underrated. Robinson had I believe he had the 2nd most catches in Bears franchise history last year, and went over 100 career high, and the quarterbacking situation gets even better this year. And with Thomas, it was just health last year. He'll go back to being that target hog, no matter who's quarterback. So if you don't get a Ridley, you don't get a Hopkins, you'll be fine with a Thomas. You'll be fine for a Robinson. I know people like A.J. Brown for upside, but I think I think the ones I won a dynasty league last year, a dynasty best ball in the FFPC Superflex with Allen Robinson as my number one wide receiver. So while there isn't like the perception of okay, DK Metcalf, he's gonna have a 200-yard game, he's gonna put up very, very good numbers week to week at a high level. He's going to be like 8 for 100 many weeks.
Yep. Scott, let's talk about the Dallas wide receiving group here, the big two here, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper in best ball rankings on RotoBaller sits at number 15. CeeDee Lamb sits at number 18. I have no problem making the case that in a best ball format, I'll take the upside of CeeDee Lamb over Amari Cooper. I just think the explosiveness, the big play potential, and the ability to have that monster game, whereas maybe Amari Cooper a little more consistent in terms of targets and receptions per week. I think the high upside yardage guy is CeeDee Lamb. Your take on the two wide receivers from Dallas?
Both of them are high upside. I think there's a view, with all respect, that Lamb is a sexier name, and we've never been able to rely on Cooper, but you don't have to worry about that in best ball as much, because Cooper has had some huge, massive games with Dak Prescott healthy. And let's remember last year with Prescott out, he still caught a career 92 passes. What's he going to do? As long as the ankle's good, he could have a very big year, and so could Lamb playing in the slot. They're expecting a major leap from him this year. I think both of those guys could be high-end wide receiver too. And like I say in my upcoming article on Seahawks.com for my fantasy football primer for 2021, this could be maybe the deepest offense in terms of fantasy resources this season. When Dak Prescott was hurt last year, he was averaging 27.7 fantasy points per game, which was the most among quarterbacks. And Cooper was benefiting greatly from that. People are starting to forget about Cooper because Lamb's on the come. I think both of them are going to be great.
Okay, so let's go to another team that's some would deem a little bit crowded, but again, in a best ball format, they could cash out for you, and that's Pittsburgh. Deontay Johnson. Okay, people will take the angle, oh, he led the league in drops, right? There goes Scott's head. I've heard it. We've heard it. He's been terrific. Okay. But then there's Chase Claypool, who had a moment or two last year. He had that one monster game. Everybody fell in love. And don't forget Juju Smith-Schuster. It's amazing right now, right? Juju Smith-Schuster 2 years ago was the guy. Now he's the third name you mentioned in this Pittsburgh wide receiver corps. So, again, first off, you hung your head on Deontay Johnson. You're not too worried, I guess.
I'm hanging my head on the Steelers in best ball, period.
Why is that?
I like Deontay Johnson in a yearly league, but Roethlisberger should be healthier. But this is a methodical offense that's going to rely a lot on the running game and yardage after the catch. And I don't see a lot of upside for best ball purposes. Chase Claypool, high point the ball, catch some touchdown passes. Juju will be a pretty dependable wide receiver 3 in fantasy. Deontay will make some big plays after the catch here and there, but none of these guys strike me as upside plays to where I want them in best ball. In the seasonal, I want to have Deontay Johnson as my number 2 wide receiver, and I want to have Juju as my 3. I don't trust Claypool as a 4. I think he's maybe a year away, it's got to be a better quarterbacking situation. I don't think Roethlisberger is going to be totally terrible, but I think it's going to be more high percentage passing where it's better for NFL purposes than fantasy purposes.
So then let me ask you this. Would you prefer in a best ball, not season long, based on what you said, I'm guessing you would take, say, the upside of an Odell Beckham over any of those Pittsburgh wide receivers in a best ball format?
Yes, I would easily take Tyler Lockett over any of those.
Really?
Whereas I would take Deontay Johnson over Lockett in the seasonal. Lockett can have monster games, and I'd rather have him in a best ball than Deontay Johnson.
Interesting. That one surprised me a little bit with Lockett, only because DK Metcalf is viewed by so many as the guy who's going to have the monster games in Seattle, whereas Tyler Lockett, and not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying the perception is Tyler Lockett is the move the chains guy, with DK Metcalf the big play guy in Seattle. You
remember the game against Arizona? It was like the second best fantasy game in Seahawks history, and one of the top 5 wide receiver games of the last decade when he had that huge blow up game against Arizona last year, and then he had a huge blow up game against Tampa the year before.
Yep. Interesting. So, Scott, the next play, let's talk here for a minute about Miami. All right. Because Miami had Devontae Parker. They drafted the young kid. But the player that people are excited about now going to Miami in a best ball format is Will Fuller. We've seen his explosiveness back in Houston, but then we've also seen him be injured and suspended. Okay. Is Will Fuller the type of wide receiver you yourself want, though, in that best ball format?
Playing with Deshaun Watson, you bank on it. I think Tagovailoa is going to take a step forward this year, but I'm more cautious. So I think he can be reliable. We saw that last year when DeAndre Hopkins left, that they can count on him to move the chains too. So I think he's a really good all-around receiver. Is he going to have those huge games with Tagovailoa? I can't bank on it. I'll take him as a wide receiver 4, mid-range in any kind of scoring format, but I still feel like Devontae Parker is going to be the most dependable guy. But I don't expect this to be an explosive offense. I expect Tagovailoa to take that next step to start taking what defenses give him and be efficient, and for this team methodical and to have its defense beat you up.
Mecole Hardman of the Chiefs. RotoBaller ranks him in a best ball format as wide receiver 56. He's ranked after Darnell Mooney, T.Y. Hilton, Elijah Moore, Jalen Reagor, even of the Philadelphia Eagles. Seems crazy to me. Because I know there are going to be games where Mecole Hardman ends up with 3 catches for 30 yards. But there are games where Mecole Hardman, the presumed wide receiver 2 now for the Kansas City Chiefs, will completely explode. Okay? Explain to me either A, why I'm wrong, or B, that it's wrong that Mecole Hardman is ranked as low as he is.
Look, they cleared the way for him to become that number 2 wide receiver. Sammy Watkins doesn't show up until the playoffs, and he's in Baltimore now. So it's one of those now and never years for a player, and that's it for Hardman. All the reports you got at camp are good, that the route running and the confidence is a lot better. He can take the top off of the defense. This is his opportunity. They have opened the door, and opportunity doesn't always lead to fantasy production. But when you're getting a guy like Hardman in the 11th, 12th round, you have to take the shot. Playing with the best quarterback in the NFL, it's not just Kelsey, it's not just Hill. They've been looking for that reliable third target, and they're going to throw downfield a lot. There's a lot of opportunity for Hardman. People are kind of off him after the first 2 years, but now he has to respond. And to me, because that pressure is on him in a tangible perspective, I'll take the shot in the double-figure rounds.
Who's the rookie wide receiver you have your eye on in a best ball format?
In a best ball format?
Devonta Smith?
No, I think it's too much to ask of a rookie.
4th wide receiver. 3rd wide receiver you draft.
3rd wide receiver I draft. I like Rashad Bateman because he was a real volume monster in college, and I think that's why the Ravens identified him, because they want somebody who can have a heavy amount of volume. I don't think he's a pure upside play, but I'd probably say Jamar Chase first because I think the connection is obvious.
Yeah.
But if we want to go a little bit deeper than that, I think Rashad Bateman is probably going to be the 2nd best fantasy wide receiver this year. I think there's going to be a lot of volume there. People look at last year and they say, "Oh, the Ravens don't throw as much as anybody. Got the worst passing game, bad landing spot." He went there in order for them to improve that. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for him.
Great point. Just because Baltimore was a lackluster passing offense does not mean that it's a bad spot. He was brought in to elevate that passing offense. So a great point there by Scott. Scott, I know we're running out of time here, but real quick, Henry Ruggs. A year ago, he was a high draft pick. He was the big play guy for the Raiders. His stock fell a little bit. He's right now wide receiver 57 in a best ball format. The question becomes, doesn't he have the most big play potential out of any of those Raider wide receivers?
Well, I think John Brown's still got some big play potential there too. He's kind of being a forgotten man. But with Ruggs, he was so invisible his rookie year that it makes you concerned and have a lot of reservations. But then again, it wasn't a normal year for rookies.
Yeah.
He got hurt. He wasn't a normal training camp,
was
wasn't
off,
a normal season. So we got to give him something of a mulligan. I'm okay with Henry Ruggs as a number 5 receiver, especially in best ball, because I know he's a downfield weapon. And the Raiders let Nelson Aguilar walk, which means they're counting on Ruggs to be their downfield weapon.
Yep, they let Aguilar go to the Patriots. Scott, tight end position. We know it's Kelsey, Waller, Kittle, Andrews, Hawkinson, Pitts. Are you all in on Kyle Pitts in a best ball format, or are you avoiding the rookie for some more familiar and, I guess, veteran names?
If I'm playing in a high stakes format, I go for the upside. He has downfield years that you just don't see in a tight end. And the Falcons have already cleared a path for him to be a major part of their offense. That said, he's still a rookie and a tight end. Rookies sometimes take a little longer to develop. If I'm in the type of league where I want to take a home run shot, like FFPC or something like that, I'll go after Pitts. But in a regular league with my friends, I'm just going to play it more conservative.
There you go. Dallas Goedert with Philadelphia. Zach Ertz is still there, though, right? Didn't we all expect Zach Ertz to be gone?
By the time you watch this, he could be gone. I don't know.
He could be gone, but when we're sitting here right now, he's still there. Does that affect your view of Dallas Goedert? Like, are we in a situation in Philadelphia where we want to love Dallas Goedert, but we can't because Ertz, as of today, is still on the roster?
There's still skepticism and justified about Jalen Hurts. He had a 52% completion percentage last year.
Yep.
And he tends to pull the ball down and run before he throws. If he's going to evolve as a passer, he's got to depend on Dallas Goedert. So I think he's definitely top 7.
Now, I know you love Trotman. We talked about him earlier. We drafted him. Is there another tight end? And it's funny. You love Troutman, and yet I mentioned Hunter Henry to you during the draft the other night, and you nixate that right away. You don't love Henry, the situation in New England.
Overrated.
Okay, there it is. Is there another tight end out there? If we didn't get Troutman, you said we never get sniped, right? So if we didn't get Troutman, who's the other tight end super late in the draft or a little bit later on that you see being a potential breakout, like a Logan Thomas was last year?
Anthony Ferkser already reports that they could be a big end zone target for the Tennessee Titans. With Jonnu Smith gone, Tannehill does like throwing to his tight end at times. Also, Cole Kmet has some sleeper potential.
I see. There's the name I wanted you to say.
There's another one maybe in his second year. And there is some potential for Gerald Everett in Seattle. They really like his yards after the catch ability. Last year, 3rd among tight ends in yards after the catch per reception. And very deep, Jacob Hollister with the Buffalo Bills played college ball with Josh Allen. And if they don't make any other acquisitions, he's got potential. And Dan Arnold didn't do anything in Arizona, but Sam Darnold likes to throw to the tight end. So Darnold to Arnold could be a thing.
I mean, Cole Kmet in the best ball league rankings is ranked 23rd. Ferkser is ranked 24th. And it's funny, those are 2 names I love this year as well, especially if you're waiting at tight end or in the tight end best ball format. Cole Kmet, the former second-round pick out of Notre Dame.
For best ball, I lean more with a guy like Ferkser, et cetera. Everett's got some upside, I think, because Seattle needs a more reliable third down and end zone guy that they can put next to Metcalf and lock it for more diversity. Kmet's got some upside. To me, Hollister can become more of a decent guy, not more of a best ball player.
Fair enough. TJ Hawkinson or Mark Andrews?
I'm still going to go Mark Andrews. He's established. My one worry with Hawkinson is that there's not much around him. He's going to get a lot of defensive attention.
Well, that's the same reason people are drafting him as a highly thought of tight end because there's not much around.
I do trust him more for the volume, though, than I do DeAndre Swift, though. Because I think they're going to have to go to Hawkinson a lot and just feed him. And I think it's easier to stop the running game, it will be than to stop the tight end in the passing game.
Fair enough. All right, Scott, anything else you want to add before we wrap up here today?
Yeah, go to rotoballer.com and check out all my rankings. They're posted behind the wall. Get the season pass. Enter King at checkout for a discount.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks for watching the King and Pocket Aces right here on RotoBaller Radio. Scott's giving me a hold.
Don't forget the FFPC right now. Best ball drafts, best ball slim, superflex, dynasty, etc. Go to rotoballer.com/FFPC and get a discount on your first team in the FFPC.
Take advantage of that. Absolutely take advantage of all the great deals at rotoballer.com. Promo code King, promo code Aces, whatever premium package you are looking for. Follow Scott on Twitter at Scott E. The King. Follow me at Aniano Fantasy. And listen, go back on our YouTube channel or on the podcast, wherever you're listening, and check out all the great King and Pocket Aces shows as we've been previewing the fantasy football season, upcoming season, starting in just a few weeks. For Scott Engel, I'm Anthony Aniano. Stay smart, stay safe, and we'll see you next time right here on the King and Pocket Aces, brought to you by rotoballer.com.